The basic idea of human rights is that each one of us, no matter who we are or where we are born, is entitled to the same basic rights and freedoms. That may sound straightforward enough, but it gets incredibly complicated as soon as anyone tries to put the idea into practice. What exactly are the basic human rights? Who gets to pick them? Who enforces them? And how? Human rights are not privileges, and they cannot be granted or revoked. They're inalienable and universal. The history behind the concept of human rights is a long one. Through the centuries and across societies, religions, and cultures, we have struggled with defining notions of rightfulness, justice, and rights. But one of the most modern affirmations of the universal human rights emerged from the ruins of World War II, with the creation of the United Nations. The treaty that established the UN gives it one of its purposes to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights. And with the same spirit, in 1948, the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This document, written by an international committee chaired by Eleanor Roosevelt, lays the basis for modern international human rights law. The Declaration takes no sides as to which rights are more important, insisting on their indivisibility and interdependence. And in the past decades, international human rights law has grown, deepening and expanding our understanding of what human rights are and how to better protect them. However, despite these achievements, there are still many people who believe that their battle for human rights is not over, which has resulted in the emergence of different movements, among which are Indignados in Spain, Gilets Jaunes and Inalienable in France, Fridays for Future fighting climate change, Me Too, or BLM, Black Lives Matter. All of these movements set a goal to carry out, resist, or undo social change. For example, Black Lives Matter, an international social movement formed in the United States in 2013, dedicated to fighting racism and anti-black violence, especially in the form of police brutality. The name Black Lives Matter signals condemnation of the unjust killings of black people by police and the demand that society value the lives and humanity of black people as much as it values the lives and humanity of white people. Due to its agenda and important public message, the Black Lives Matter has been nominated for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. The Black Lives Matter movement has many goals. BLM activists seek to draw attention to the many ways in which black people are treated unfairly in society and the ways in which institutions, laws, and policies help to perpetuate that unfairness. The movement has fought racism through such means as political action, letter-writing campaigns, and non-violent protests. In fact, there are many reasons why people protest, but researchers in the Netherlands say they've teased out the motivations fueling the desire to join public demonstrations. Psychologist Bert Klendermans and sociologist Jacqueline van Stekelenburg, both from Amsterdam, looked at the social psychology literature on protest since the 1950s. They mainly looked at books and articles about protest analysis with a social psychological approach and focused on Western democratic countries. They found 5 main factors behind why people protest: grievances, efficacy, identity, emotions, and social embeddedness. Under these circumstances, critics also question the universality of human rights and emphasize that their development has been heavily guided by a small number of mostly Western nations to the detriment of inclusiveness. To sum it up, human rights law is constantly evolving, as are our views and definitions of what the basic human rights should be. Most likely, it can be considered as a natural process. Still, the role of the protests in the evolution remains an open question in the near and remote future, since it is hard to imagine a society made up of individuals completely resistant to the protest fueling factors and always ready to compromise.